Hello everybody, how's it going? I hope this finds you well. So today we're gonna take a quick dive into Jetpack Compose animation, specifically into animated content size. Okay, let's just dive right in because this topic it's a bite size, very interesting, allows us to do like some cool things, and yeah, I just want you guys to get some information about this. So as you can see here, Jetpack Compose provides us with a lot of built-in animation, which are quite handy, and just like one-liners of code that allows you to transform the UI in a way that it feels nice and it feels like you're interacting with a up-to-date mobile application, right? So here on this page, and I'll drop a link down below, it goes over animated visibility and animated content size and what the things that you can achieve to it. So let's just take a quick look. The definition is pretty simple. Let's take a look at this one from Perplexity. So it allows us to animate the appearance and disappearance of its content based on a Boolean visible state. That's a trigger, by the way. And this makes it easy to create smooth transitions when showing or hiding UI elements. And there's a small example here, and that's what I was talking about, the trigger. It's basically a state Boolean in Compose that you use in conjunction with the animation Compose to allow that the animation to happen, basically. So coming back to the documentation, here is basically the same example that we just saw from Perplexity. And animated visibility, you can do a lot of stuff with it. Today we're gonna focus specifically on animated content size. But later on, if you guys want a deep dive into animated visibility and the stuff that you can do, let me know. Just put a comment down below and I'll take a look, okay? So let's just dive in. But before we dive in, let's just take a quick look at this. So this is, like, honestly, if you are in, let's say, building a test project or building an MVP or a POC, or just working for an enterprise client, most of the time, unless you're like building crazy custom stuff, which is quite rare, this is basically what you're gonna use. All these defaults, because it's so ingrained into mobile development, all of these basic transitions, right? Fade in, fade out, slide in, slide out. And I think just throughout software development as a whole, like this standard animations that we use to make things just feel nicer, right? So again, as you can see here, this is all off the box, and you can use all of them pretty simply, like one line of code, I'm telling you, sometimes. So yeah, we can dive this later on in another video, but for now, let's just focus on the animated visibility. Animated content size, sorry. So what is animated content size? Well, it's an outside the box, ready to use animation that it kind of plays in with animated visibility, right? So let's see here. In order to place modifier. So this is just telling us how you use, and you use it with it's a modifier keyword that you insert into it, and it would just by default animate the content size of whatever compose that you're using it with. You can play around with it as well, but most of the time, I'm telling you, the default implementation will cut for you. So here in this example, as you can see, they do have the trigger, and simple box with a modifier, blue background, as you can see here. This is the example directly on it. And here what they're doing is the trigger, basically what the trigger is doing is saying like, look, if you're false, this height of this component is 200 dp. And if you are true, the height of this component is 400 dp. So it's just a switch that will tell the compose that the height of the component has changed. And without this, you can imagine that things will basically just flicker on the screen, right? They will just like, and that is not nice, right? Because to our human eye and to our, user experience, things flickering on the screen, it doesn't feel right, right? It's just like you walking down the road and things are just flicking into your eyes. Like you'll be like, what's going on, right? So the smoothness of things allows for a better experience, right? And as you can see here, that's exactly what it's doing. So let's dive into this. I have an example already set for you guys, and basically it does this, but with not with height. It is with height in a sense, but it would play around with the amount of lines in the text field, so in the text component. So let's take a look. So here, this is the component, and as you can see, it's pretty simple, and it's just a column with a card that has another column inside, which holds an image, and then it holds a text composable. And as I said, here is where our trigger is playing around. So trigger here defined as a Boolean rememberable, and here is where we're saying like, look, if you are false, then you turn to true, and then we'll have 2 lines. If not, you have 20 lines. So basically, we're saying like, if you expand it, give me more space. If you're not, I don't need that much space, right? So how does that look like? But before we see it, that is just one other thing. Remember that I said that you can play around a little bit with the animated content size to make it a little bit more customizable. This is what I was talking about, right? So here on our example, they just put the modifier changer here directly, no customization, and the trigger, and then and then here what we're doing is that we are playing around with a little bit of the damping ratio and the stiffness. I'm not gonna go too deep into this, but as you can see here, the explanation is pretty simple. It's the damping ratio, so how that animation will be propagated, I would say. And the stiffness, you can even think really as like how stiff it is, that animation time frame, right? How things will feel as the animation is going through. So again, if you want me to dive deep into this in terms of how to customize these animations, let me know, and I'll blend something in. So here we have something called medium bounce and stiffness low. So let's just see how that looks like, right? So let's go back here to our main activity. Here we're using a preview. As you can see, very handy thing. So every time we're playing Animate Compose, preview allows you don't need to run your app in order for you to see how things will look like. And that speeds up things a lot. So I'll do say, use preview, and it's pretty simple to get it going, right? So as you can see, so drop the preview keyword and drop your composable as well. And then just build your composable font. Let's say A1 here. And there you go. So here you already have your, let's say, preview box. And then here you can put whatever you want, right? Here in this case, I'm adding a theme because that's just a good practice. Every time you're building something, you want to see how it looks like according to the theme of your application. So if you do a preview as well, it's always nice to get the theme there, because then you see how the component actually looks like when the app is actually running, right? So drop that theme in there, and then here you can put whatever component you want, right? Let's just put the same one, and preview will automatically render that component for you, as you can see here. So there you go. Preview, very handy. Use it. Now, let me scratch that off, and let's just play around with this thing and see what it does. So here, let's start the interactive mode, and you can do that. Let me do that again. You can do that just by hovering over the top right hand side, and you have a couple of actions that you can do. And in this case, I'm just starting the interactive mode that allows you to interact with it. Great. So the trigger is in the click. So as soon as you click on it, that line, goes from 2 to 10, 20? How much do we got? So yeah, 20. From 2 to 20. So that makes the component to have a bigger size because the text itself will have more size to take, and that makes the component to grow, right? Without the animation, and remember we have some bouncing here is happening as well, not necessarily, but just gives us a nice effect. But let's just take a quick look of how this looks like without it, right? So if I come here, and what is the beginning of this? Let's just take this out, right? And it will rebuild itself. And now what we should see is that the flicker that I talked about, right? Where things just kind of like, and let's see, there you go. So this is fine if you just like want to see how things will look like, right, in different states. But once you want your app to put into people's hands and all of that stuff, user experience becomes a very important thing that you need to think about. Like it's sometimes it becomes the most important thing that you need to think about, because if the app doesn't feel right, it will drive off people, right? And you don't want that. If you're building something and if you want, for people to use, I think personally it's very important for you to make it nice, right? So adding things like this allows people to just, have a better experience. And you as a user, I'm pretty sure that you also want, good experiences. So yeah, animations, I think very, very important when it comes to develop mobile apps. So again, without animation, we have this flicker thing. It's not too bad, but again, like because it's so off the box and you basically like 2 lines of code, 1 line of code sometimes, it's worthwhile using it, right? So let's bring them back. This time I'm gonna take out the bouncing, all of that custom stuff, and this is just off the box, like as I said, 1 line of code with the trigger, like come on, and let's see how that looks like. So now it grows, a little bit smoother. Like as you can see, it does have like a onto it, right? And that's already better. That's already better than the flicker, and it doesn't cost you much, right? But I still prefer that bounce. So let's bring that bounce back. And then yeah, I mean, like it's light and day. It's light and day. So there you go, guys. That is, I would say no excuse not to use these things and play around with them. And it's pretty fun, when you build something that you're really passionate about and you want to make it look nice. I think it's definitely worth, spending some time learning about this, learning about the animations and all that, because it just makes the whole experience, much better. So this is it. I'll put all the links for the documentation and for the repo in the description below. And yeah, if you have anything else that you guys would like me to explain, just put the comments down below. But until then, have a good time. Bye bye.